back to the YellowCard Vanguard channel. I'm your host, Toku from It's Toku TV on Twitch. Every Monday, I'm streaming Vanguard content, and the past few Mondays, we've been brewing up clan collection lists and testing them on TTS, so swing on by to be part of the process. This is the 5th day of clan collection cores, and we're going to take a peek at what was brought for Spike Brothers, Dudley Emperor and friends. I'm going to set the record straight. Dudley Emperor is a lost child compared to the other big football daddy, Bruce. Most of the support from this set for Spikes is very xenophobic and warps deck building to include mostly Dudleys, meaning the slots for generic good stuff, and even considering Rising as a second ride is nigh impossible. Irregardless, thanks to how xenophobic the new support was, a quick Control F for the word Dudley can quickly provide us with a core. Let's take a look at the new cards and see how they slot in with the old. Starting us off is the new Grade 1, Dudley Daisy. When she's placed through a Dudley's ability onto the rear circle, you can Soul Blast 1 to search for a Grade 3 Dudley and call it to an open rear. At the end of the turn, we'll put both that called unit and Daisy to the bottom of the deck. Normally, this is always grabbing us a copy of Lucy in the latter stages of the game to provide us with an extra attack but also a counter charge. The new Grade 2 that we get is Dudley Mason. On rear, while you have a Dudley Vanguard, when its attack hits, you can counterblast 1 and tuck him to call a new Dudley that isn't a Grade 2 to rear. Note that this doesn't have to be an open rear. His second effects allows you to move all the force markers onto a new rearguard circle when he is returned to your deck on your turn. Luckily with the new Emperor, this second effect isn't reliant on his first skill to hit, and you'll be able to shuffle force markers regardless whether he hits or not. And finally, our new quarterback, Dudley Emperor. When he attacks as Vanguard or when he is rode upon, you can counterblast 1 to superior call a Grade 2 or higher Dudley to an open rear circle. Your Vanguard then gets 10k for the turn. His second effect works on rear or van, which makes him a valid unit to call to rear as well off of Daisy. Whenever your rearguard attacks, if you have a Dudley Vanguard, which you most likely always should, that rearguard gains 5k and tucks itself at the end of battle. This can help recycle your Dudley name so that all your superior calls will always be live. Note that this stacks, so if you have a Vanguard Emperor and you have a rearguard Emperor, when your rearguard attacks you'll be getting 10k. The new Grade 3 heal trigger is Precious Cheergirl Cameron. Unfortunately, this does not have the Dudley name. However, like most heal guardians, we'll see play or not based on what the meta is shaping to be. But with how poorly this deck looks to go second, it should definitely be considered default to make sure you get to Grade 3 without too much pain. With the new cards out of the way, let's take a look into the core, and afterwards I'll explain on what it aims to do. We'll start with high counts of all the good Dudley cards. At the top end, we are running 4 Emperor and 4 Lucifer. Lucifer is a good superior call target to end off the combo attacks to get a counter charge, so we have resources for the next turn. We want to see Emperor as much as possible, as not only is it a decent ride over itself, it serves as a good rearguard to enable high power attacks when you have Emperor on the van and 1 on the rear. We've got 4 Dudley Davy and 3 Dudley Mason for our Grade 2 lineup. Both of these Dudleys for a counterblast call a non-Grade 2. However, Davy calls from the deck and isn't contingent on hitting, so we'll max out on him and leave 3 Mason as an endgame extra attack enabler instead if we manage to hit. In our Grade 1 lineup, we run a full set of both William and Daisy. William is the ideal Grade 1 ride target as a plus to board when rode upon, but also as a way to refill soul and to shuffle force markers around for your attacks. And Daisy is a cheap 5th to 8th copy of Emperor and Lucifer as rearguards. For our trigger lineup, we are putting on the pressure with 12 criticals. The goal is to push to high damage early so that our first or second turn of multi-attacks is able to push our opponent over the limit and end the game before they can scale up. We've chose to run the new Grade 3 Heal Guardians for reason of being able to make it our first Grade 3 going second without much hassle. But also because, if going first, can provide Dudley Emperor with a counterblast when we call it from hand, and thus can also act as a viable attacker, and through Dudley Emperor's second skill, will be able to tuck itself back into the deck regardless. After all is said and done, we have 10 slots left to play with, and here is where we can put our good generic support. 4 out of these 10 slots are going to go to Acrobat Verdi, as a way to fish for Emperors, Camerons, and Lucifers if needed. The other 6 slots I've dedicated are 3 to Powerback Ronaldo and 3 to Wonder Boy. Powerback Ronaldo in a vacuum is just an incredibly raw plus to board, and fills our soul for cards like Daisy and Lucifer. Not only that, off of his skill, you can choose to call triggers as attackers when you have Emperor as Vanguard, and they will more times than not still be valid attackers through Emperor's second skill and will return to the deck regardless. Wonder Boy is another source of soul for this deck, but also a way to recycle Dudley pieces into our deck for combos as well. We chose to run Wonder Boy over any of its other clones in Juggernaut Maximum or Bracky due to respect of Ronaldo. I wanted as much valid attackers regardless where they were on the board when we call them off for Ronaldo. Wonder Boy is valid whether in the front or the back, whereas Bracky and Jug are only valid in the front. So what other choices can we run? As stated before, if we're looking for more attackers, we can consider Bracky and Juggernaut Maximum as alternate attackers. Keep in mind, if you have an Emperor anywhere on the field, you won't be resolving the second effect of these ever, but these are great superior calls off of Ronaldo. Dudley's already has an in-archetype source of countercharge in Lucifer, but if you still find yourself aching for some more resources to play with, you can definitely consider Cheergirl Courtney as a source of emergency countercharge. And if you choose to go higher in a grade 3 package by including Juggernaut Maximum, you can also consider Ambush Dexter as a way to convert a Lucifer that has already done its job into 2 more Jugs, huge ass 23k attackers. Now, let's go over what I think the deck's general combo is. We're gonna ride Emperor over Emperor and use the first Emperor skill to call a Davy from deck. This Davy will then use its skill to call a Daisy from deck, who will then call a Lucifer or an Emperor from deck. We attack with our 2 rearguard columns, and from Emperor's skill, these will get tucked back into the deck. Then, when we attack with the Emperor, we'll use his skill to once again call the Davy, who will then call Daisy, who will then call Lucifer for a board reset. At the very least, if the resources allow for it, Dudley Emperor and Friends is a consistent 5-attack force deck. I just don't think it compares well to the other 5-attack force decks we have in the current meta, as Counterblast for them is a lot more freely available as compared to us, where we're burning through a lot of Counterblast to get our board reset. As such, I can see this deck stealing wins, but I don't think it will be a meta contender. That being said, I think because of how many actions you're doing, how often you're going into your deck, the deck will feel fun regardless, and it's worth a shot if that is your thing. See you back here on the channel tomorrow for the next Clan Collection core. Toku out.